What's up, people? It's your girl Adeola. Guys, this is one of those episodes where we get to look at another big effect of colonization on Africa that we're still experiencing till today. It's one thing to be colonized and be put together with people of different cultures and languages if you all have one official language. But in the case of Cameroon, we're talking about people with different cultures and different languages, and they still don't have one official language. They have two official languages, which is why one is being marginalized. May 20th was the 50th anniversary of the French and the English part of Cameroon coming together to become one country. I did a whole episode about this. The English speakers in Cameroon were colonized by the British. The French speakers were colonized by France. And then when they both got their independence, the English speakers, who are the minority, by the way, believed that they were forced to be one with the rest of Cameroon. So I already did an episode about that. You can search for it in my channel. They called this day National Unity Day because this was the day that they both came together 50 years ago. But guess what? The country right now is anything but united.
Cameroon celebrated Friday the 50th anniversary of its Unity Day. The last parade was held back in 2019. In a rare public appearance, 89-year-old head of state Paul Biya presided over the civil and military parade.
I've talked a lot about the crisis that started in 2016 and is still going on right now with hundreds of thousands of people displaced. It started when the English speakers, the minorities, began protesting about being marginalized by the French government of Cameroon. For example, in Cameroon, most of the heads of government offices speak only French, even though they have both French and English speakers come together as a country. Even in the English-speaking regions, visitors and clients to government offices are expected to speak in French. Most public examinations in Cameroon are set in French. How's that fair? Even in the English-speaking regions. And then, of course, the national entrance examination that students have to take is being set by the French subsystem. So the examination board members for this entrance examination are all francophones, which is not fair to the English speakers. So as you guys can see, the prioritization of the French language over the English language is very glaring, and this is what is causing all the problem. As a matter of fact, government institutions will release public notices in French, even though the English speakers practice the British style in their education as well as practice the British law, which is the common law. The Francophone region use French style system, school system, and the civil law system. But then, of course, teachers and lawyers in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon are being forced to now adopt French language. So this whole thing has to do with speaking French and trying to force the entire country to speak French. So even though they both have different colonizers, it's as if the French part of Cameroon now wants to recolonize the English part of Cameroon. And so that's why the protest started. And shortly after the protest started, of course, we started seeing videos of soldiers attacking protesters in the English-speaking region, also burning down homes in the English-speaking regions.
This is the village of Kukembomo in Cameroon being burnt to the ground. This is one of those villages. The film shows a unit of at least 13 soldiers setting fire to a house.
You might have seen videos like this. I've talked about it on the show several times. The funny thing is, the government has denied this kind of atrocities, saying that it is the English speakers, who call themselves Ambazonians, by the way, that they are the ones wearing military uniforms to burn down homes.
Également, qu'ils acquièrent la tenue militaire de BIR ou de toute autre force de défense pour perpétrer leur forfait et imputer cela à nos forces de défense et de sécurité. L'épisode que vous décrivez fait l'objet d'une investigation afin qu'on sache exactement ce qui s'est passé.
Okay, that's really absurd. So soldiers were sleeping when Ambazonians took their uniforms or what? Like really? I don't know. I just find it hard to believe this kind of government. And then since then, a lot has happened. We've seen videos of soldiers executing women and children. We cannot show that on the show, but hundreds of thousands of people have been forced to leave their homes. People were living in the bush. Even till now, some people are living in the forest. Meanwhile, the Ambazonians have also been fighting back, but not just that. that, they've also been attacking their own people. They go after anyone that they see as an informant for the government or anyone that they believe is working for the government. They call them traitors. And that is what I don't understand. Why would you torture your own people? Why would you kill your own people? You want to secede because you have been marginalized, but then why kill your own people?
Armed separatists have threatened people with violence, kidnapped school children, and held them for ransom.
I was taken because I was going to school.
That doesn't make any sense to me. In fact, there was a time that they were calling for school kids to boycott school as a protest. I found that really, really odd. I don't know, how would that help them? I thought they would encourage the students in their region to work hard and make sure that they get good education so they can, have better opportunities in life. But instead, they were telling them to boycott school as a way of protesting. They were literally attacking schools. They would go and attack teachers. There was even a time that they shot students. It was really, really sad. And they've also burnt down some schools. As a matter of fact, between 2017 and 2018, there were reports that the Ambazonian soldiers attacked about 42 different schools. Why? How will this help you? How would this help with what you're trying to get? I mean, wanting to succeed is not just happening in Cameroon. The Biafrans that may be watching this episode will write in the comment section like you're preaching to the choir. Biafrans want to succeed in Nigeria. People are trying to succeed in different places, and people are free to do whatever they want. But honestly, attacking your own people, I don't see how that is going to help with what you're trying to achieve. But this is why so many times we don't even know who is perpetrating the atrocities. Don't get me wrong, there are people that would argue that the Ambazonians are defending themselves, but there are also several videos of where they were torturing their own people. Another hospital was burned down June 8, and this is about the 5th medical facility that is being attacked since this crisis started. In 2019, 4 people died when a major hospital in Kumba, that's a city in the southwest region, was burnt down. In that fire, they destroyed the male surgical ward, the female surgical ward, the maternity ward, and the nurses' quarters, as well as 5 cars were burnt down. And then, of course, 4 patients who were in the surgical ward, patients that were being operated on or they just finished the surgery, they were burnt alive. And once again, it wasn't clear who did it. At the time, the Cameroonian Minister of Communications said that the attackers were the Ambazonian separatists. But then the Ambazonians published a memo accusing the government officials of using soldiers to burn down the hospital while placing the blame on them. They said that they were being framed. And the same thing has happened again and again and again. This time around, it is the Mamfe Hospital that was burnt down, also in the southwest region. This is the English-speaking part of Cameroon. The entire hospital was burnt to the ground except for the pharmacy. But the one thing that we do know is Cameroonian soldiers were there while the hospital was burning. Some Cameroonians are saying how come they didn't try to stop the fire. We don't know. Maybe they tried and they were not able to. I'm just trying to be objective here. I'm not saying that they did it or they did not. But what we do know is soldiers were on ground while this hospital was burning. And the interesting thing is, when this story broke out, once again, Cameroonians are divided about who did it. There are several comments online that said that the Ambazonians were the ones that did it. And then, of course, some Cameroonians were saying it was not the Ambazonians, that it was the government's military that did it and tried to frame the Ambazonians. Those accusing the government said that this particular hospital has been there since the British time. It's a legacy for the Ambazonians. They would never burn it down, and that the soldiers burned it down because it was treating Ambazonians, and they accused the soldiers of having a barrack in that town, and that the police checkpoint was right across from the hospital, and so they must have been the ones that burnt it down. The one thing that I do not understand since this crisis started is every time such a thing happens, the government will say that they are investigating, but then we would never hear anything back. I mean, that fire that I showed you some time ago, it's been about 5 years now. The case is yet to be solved. Meanwhile, so many villages have been burnt down. So many hospitals have been attacked. and then the government just doesn't give us the report after their investigation, or I don't know how long it would take to investigate. But it really baffles me that the government would keep quiet and then such a thing would happen again. And let's not forget that this is happening in the English-speaking region. You know, I keep asking myself that if this were to be happening in Yaoundé, you know, where the capital is, don't you think the government would have done something by now to prevent this from repeating itself? If the Ambazonians are responsible for this, who have you arrested? What measures are you putting in place to stop it? If the government insists that the Ambazonians are the ones destroying hospitals and everything else, is the government also saying that they are not able to stop the people that are doing this? And so is it possible that it is the government that is actually responsible for this? But then there are people accusing France of being behind everything that is happening. Do you believe that? Do you key into that at all? Especially if you are from Cameroon, I would love to hear from you guys. I mean, it is obvious that the French-speaking government wants to colonize the English-speaking part of Cameroon, and they want everybody in Cameroon to start speaking French. They want to do everything in French, which is not fair. But at the same time, though, it's hard to advocate for the Ambazonians when some of them are also attacking their own people in the name of fighting for freedom. I want to know what you guys think about this. In the meantime, though, this is the first time in a very long time, in several months actually, that their president, 89-year-old Paul Biya, who has refused to step down despite being in power for more than 40 years when you count the time that he was prime minister as well. This is the first time in several months that he would be seen in public. Of course, there are concerns about his health. There were parades and all, but the president did not say anything at all. Some Cameroonians were arguing that he only addresses the nation in February and in December. At the same time, there were Cameroonians who believed that he should have said something as the president, but he didn't say anything the entire parade. But you know, having said all that, it is very, very heartbreaking for me that anybody would think about burning down a hospital, whether it's the government, whether it's Ambazonians. It just does not make sense that we will burn down. Hospital is where people get treated. It's where lives are saved. It makes no sense to me that anyone will burn down the hospital where they are being treated. Till now, on my Twitter page, I have people saying that it's the government that is responsible. I have people saying that it's the Ambazonians. But what I still don't understand, as I said earlier, is if the government is not responsible for it, then what is the government doing to prevent this from happening, because it keeps happening? Let me know what you guys think about this and about, you know, effects of colonization in Africa. You guys not do know much. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real.